to if we go Arabic, because we're used to that. We have to remember that we are still dealing in base 20. So the least value is over to the right always, and it increases to the left. So here we have times 1 times 20 times 20 squared times 20 to the third times 20 to the fourth. And we also leave a period, so this is not a Star Trek star date, by the way. And the other convention is to leave a space right after the period. And that's kind of convention, so we don't mistake it for something else. And so this represents a 5-place dot and bar. So this one would be represented by 2 bars and 2 dots, over 3 bars and 2 dots, over 2 dots, over the 0 symbol, over a bar and 4 dots. But it's so much easier to visualize it this way. As I said, we do it all the time and don't realize it. This is how I was taught the factor. And I was very lucky in my math teachers. This Arabic number simply means, doesn't it mean just that? So, and actually this is a slide that saves most of my classes, because once they see this, you see a lot of head palming and, oh my God, I said, yes, but you're doing it by 20s and don't ever forget that. Woe to the one who forgets that. So, all right. Okay, so here we have I'll put the answers up. I won't ask you to do them here. In other words, addition. So we've got some 1-place, couple 2-place, and a couple of 3-place, and that's what they are. That's what the, so there we have 26. And there we have a 4-place number. All right, so as I said, no concept of fractions. It's rather unbelievable. But what they could do by simple addition and subtraction with implied multiplication was absolutely incredible. In other words, we have 2 significant numbers. 584, these are found in the Dresden Codex, which is the most famous surviving Maya almanac. 584 is a sidereal period of the planet Venus. In other words, if you look at Venus on a certain day and chart its position in the sky against the background stars, it will return to that relative position in the sky at that time among those background stars that many days later. And everybody knows what 365 means, don't they? It's really 365 and a quarter. And the Olmec discovered the leap year without fractions. They did it by addition. So we can express these 2 numbers. That is a very significant number in Mayan numerology because it combines 2 time periods. But we can express it as either that or that. However, they didn't do that. 2,920 in old count was you had to add 584 5 times, or 365 8 times. And on top of that, the 5 versus 8 period is also very significant within the sidereal astronomical values of the charting of the positions of the planet Venus again. Venus, in fact, was the most important celestial object, not the sun. The sun either preceded Venus in the sky or followed. And in fact, to most early Maya, the sun was the son of Shimal, Venus. And Venus, to all Mesoamericans, was a vicious, bloodthirsty god of war, blood, death, pestilence. And that white color, Mesoamerica, like China, white is the color of death. And so here we have, 5-place number. We don't count on the general public getting that right off the bat, but you certainly get that, don't you? It's Arabic conversion. And so how do we factor this number into our own base 10? Well, we do it by factoring out. So if this is 1 all the way up to 20 to the 4th power, well, 3 times 20 to the 4th power plus, see how it works? So in our Arabic notation, there's the value, base 10. Now I'm going to worry you right now by saying that they have 2 ways of counting. This is the trade count. It's pure base 20. The calendar count throws a variable in there. Okay. So, okay, how do we go about adding this number to itself? Well, that's how we do it. Notice, you see how carrying happens here? Okay. Okay, 17 plus 17 is 34, but 34 is greater than 20, isn't it? So 34 less 20 is 14. Carry 1 up. 13 and 13 is 26, plus 1 is 7. Well, we have another 20, so leave the 7, carry the 20, 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13. 13 is less than 19, so we don't do anything with it. 10 plus 10, 0, carry up, and that's how it works. And it actually does not take long to get used to this. You just have to remember that it starts at 0 and ends at 19. In fact, I'll tell my students, make a placard and put it at your desk. Starts at 0, ends at 19. Okay. Or if we do Arabic shorthand, we're doing exactly the same thing, aren't we? Yeah. So we came up with the same value anyway. Yeah?
I have a question. Can you go back a slide?
Go back a slide.
You were saying it starts at 0, ends at 19.
Yeah.
So if you look at the bottom line, wouldn't you be moving up, wouldn't the remainder be 15? And you'd be moving up 19?
No. No, it's from, we have 20 integers from 0 to 19. And 20 is the first two-place number. Okay? So we have to subtract 20. Because, remember, we have that symbol.
I was following you until you said we only have 0 to 19.
Yeah. Well, 20 integers, 0 to 19. And just to say, is exactly the same way we have 10 integers, 0 to 9. And all I can say is I am so glad these people never developed calculus. All right. So this is the system of the long count calendar, which itself is a compendium of several calendars. And so the second, all values are multiples of 20, but the second lowest place in a number cannot exceed the integer 17, and the third place is 20 times 18. Thereafter it goes to 20, and we'll come back to that in a little bit. Now, what we call they're not the Maya calendars. They're the Olmec, Epi-Olmec, and Zapotec calendars. And they evolved much earlier. We're talking about at least 2800 BCE, at the very least. And things were pretty well developed by then, so as far as I'm concerned, it pushes it back even further, and no, there were no damn aliens involved. So, in other words, the Egyptians are around. They have a history of their ancient culture of over 5,000 years. Don't you think if you give a culture a chance to don't you think if you give a culture that long, it's going to do something? And they certainly did. The Chinese have a written history of 14,200 years. And boy, are they still with us, too. So, all right. What they had, because of latitude, is what we don't have here. Because we so far know we will never see the sun at 90, 90, 90. Right? The highest we can see the sun is 90 minus 23.5 degrees from New Hampshire's latitude. So, but we'll never see it directly overhead. And so what they did is they devised, they used the sun. They counted by days. Everything is dependent upon the tun, the day. A day and a night. And then the next day, sunrise begins the next day into the night, and so on and so forth. And so they used the sun as a marker. They noticed that twice a year, the sun would shine directly overhead. And what they did is they devised these gnomons, which is a tapered limestone cone with its head cut off, and a cap that's exactly the width of the base. And on any other day other than direct transit, there would be a band of light across the base. When they saw no band of light at high noon, that was a day. Up to when you reach the Tropic of Capricorn, this happens once a year. But as you go further south to the Tropic of Tropic of Cancer down to the Tropic of Capricorn, within that entire region, 23 degrees north, 23 south, you can have a solar transit. There are still some of them used. This one is in the Esna, Yucatan, and it is fenced off. Now, in the old days, during the Mayan Empire, touching one of those and not being a priest earned you the death sentence. Nowadays, touching one of those and not being a Maya gets you 20 years in Mexican prison. I don't know which is worse. So, you see one, do respect the fence, or you're going to be a guest of the Gobernador Federal for a while. Okay. Izapa sits on this latitude here, 14.5, and it has solar transits on, I believe it's, April 30th and August 13th. The latter day is the more important. And Central Plaza of Izapa, this is from an old slide I had, to this day, on the summer solstice, the 22nd of June, the mountain, the sun appears to rise right out of that mountain. This city was astronomically sighted. And it was astronomically sighted before 2900 BCE, almost 5,000 years ago. So there was already some sophistication going on here. And this is the Central Plaza, and I was standing on a 2-meter square platform that had to have been an original sighting platform.
The 260-day calendar?
The 260-day calendar, we think, arose, was codified, the 260-day calendar, we believe, was codified at Izapa. But we're not, and we're going to go into this. The Maya calendar system is a whole series of interlocking wheels. It's worse than your grandfather's watch inside. Okay. Tikal is one of my favorite places. And not just anybody is allowed to climb the pyramids, because those pyramids have a 62-degree slope on their staircases. And if you have any kind of vertigo or fear of heights, you may look, but you may not climb. They already knew that, you're the one that climbed ship's mast, go on up. And so I did. And coming down, boy, was that cool. I thought it was great. I started down facing forward, and then these steps, the treads are that high, and they're that narrow. So, they're about half my foot could get on it. And of course, they're worn. They're not pristine anymore. And they can get slippery. So about halfway down, I turned around and started laddering it down. I said, okay, I've proven all I need to prove. So, and these, from Temple 1, the second tallest one and the one in the main plaza, the other 5 temples that we see, 3 main ones and the spire of one further back, this one here, that's the tallest one. And these represent, in other words, Temple 4, this fixes the 13 August sunset position. And as seen from this portal I'm standing in. Okay, and a map, oh yes, go that way. All right, so Temple 1, in other words, okay, to Temple 4, okay, sunset August 13th. If I'm looking from Temple 1 to Temple 3, that's sunset on the equinoxes. And looking from here to here, looking from Temple 4 to 3, sunrise on the winter solstice. So, yeah, the central part of Tikal, which, by the way, is only 5% excavated, and it's huge. There must have been about 80 to 90,000 people living there at its height, and which did them in the end. So we're looking, we're looking at all these different orientations, and you also notice how each one of these structures is oriented exactly the same way. Every single one of them, only Temple 1 to Temple 4, you can see does mark the sunset of August 13th, but can you see the common alignment of everyone? They're all aligned to August 13th. Most Maya cities are aligned to that. We're aligned to that at the beginning. Okay, calendar systems. There are several. There are many. So, and like the glyphs, the calendar system was common. was one of the glyphs and the calendar system were the only things that these cultures ever agreed on. They fought over everything else. And it's interlocking wheels. Now, it's interesting they developed wheels because there were no physical wheels. I mean, we have a lot of wheeled toys we've excavated, but if you don't have draft animals, what use is a wheel? They didn't have push carts either. It was all tump line, backpack, and carry, or get someone else to carry. So the shortest one is the sokin, or the sokin, and it's a 260-day cycle, and it arose at Isapa. So two holy numbers, 13 and 20. There's a 13-day interval, and there's a 20-day interval. In fact, the 20-day interval is also referred to as a month. And when you mesh these two numbers, and in fact, I didn't bring that model, it's a great way of teaching the concept of lowest common denominator, because students can play with it. Oh, okay. So if we want to see that, so we have these two wheels here. We have the symbol, the day symbol ahau, and the number symbol 8. So these two wheels rotate together. The big wheel has to turn 13 times, and the little wheel has to turn 20 times before we see this combination again. And if you know your factoring, the lowest common denominator of 13 and 20 is 260. And by the way, between August 13th and April 30th at Isapa is 260 days. And in other words, it varies depending on your latitude. And Isapa had two things going for it as far as the Maya were concerned. It was old. They loved old things. The older, the more sacred it was. It also had that fortunate latitude that allowed it to have a 260-day cycle between solar transits. So, and there's been an awful lot of bump built up and devised and invented about Isapa, none of which is true. I used to warn people in the year 2012, if you go down to Yucatan, you go to visit the ruins, if you mention 2012, you're going to pay for it. If you mention it in a bar, it's guaranteed fight, and they don't play fair.
What is the significance of 2012?
It ended a period. However, the other thing that these people didn't realize about the Maya calendar is we have overlapping days. The last day of one month is simultaneously the 0th or seeding day of the second. So there's a day that, when you end a month, there's a day, but it also begins the next one. So there's no beginning. And do circles have beginnings and ends? They don't. So now we've got, what's the significance of that time period? It's a standard solar year, isn't it? And but we always write it out this way because the Mesoamerican year was 18 20-day months, and there are 5 days left over, called the unlucky period. So we call it the vague year because they also knew about the leap year. Okay, so the one ki'in is 1 day, and 20 ki'in is a winal, and that's the month. And those are the day symbols. And then 18 winal equals 1 hop, almost. Because 18 times 20 is 360. So then we've got all these months and 5 days left over. The Aztecs referred to those 5 days as the Nemontemi, and anyone who was unlucky enough to be born in that 5-day period, which corresponds to our 8th to 12th of February, was forthwith sacrificed. They didn't want any of those unlucky people around. So people, if adult parents would actually lie about the kid's age if they were born in a Nemontemi. Oh, no, he was born on the last day of the old year. Or no, he was born on New Year's Day. You can't take him. Okay, and we also refer to 6 Pope or 15 Yashkin, like 8, or today is 6 October, right? And so it's the same thing, just about the same thing. So remember the Sokin wheel? So if we mesh the 260-day wheel combination with the 365-day calendar, with the 365-day wheel, then we get the common denominator of that number of days, which is exactly 52 solar years. 52 also happens to be 4 times 13, and no, I'm not Kabbalistic about it. So we have that symbol, and that symbol. They will meet only once every 18,980 days. Doesn't stop there either. Okay. No, okay, so this is the overlapping day. Remember the integers are 0 to 19, not 1 to 20? They're 0 to 19. So the 0th day of the second month signifies the end of the previous month whilst beginning the next one. That's why the 21st of December 2012 was both simultaneously a completion and a beginning. It completed a 400-year Baktun period. It initiated another 400-year Baktun period simultaneously. This is a concept we do not have in our calendar system. And like there is no 0th day of January, is there? That's December 31st. So it belongs to the month it seats, but it really ends the other one, the previous one. Okay, I went wrong way. Okay. And now, remember that 584-day period, cycle of Venus? Now, if we added that to what we call the calendar round, the 52-year cycle, we now get a period of exactly 104 solar years. And so again, if we the first day of the sidereal period of Venus plus these 5 symbols, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this combination will not happen for another 104